is a monster. Make no mistake about it. His name is Samual Aquim Charon, and we'll bring his information up here shortly, and of course we'll send the information over to you. But Mr. Charon is currently being booked into the Bexar County Jail for 2 charges: capital murder and tampering with a corpse, both in connection with the case of Stacey Dramiga, whom you all know, and I'll recap the case for you. But as you all know, September 23rd, we discovered Ms. Dramiga's remains in DeFost Park, which, as it turns out, is actually very close to his residence where he was taken into custody today. On September 22nd of 2024, we actually received a call from family members of Ms. Dramiga in the 7700 block of Real Road for a missing report. She had gone out walking earlier that day. She was known to frequent the Greenway trails over there in that area, the Salado Creek Greenway trails. And in essence, she was known to walk 8-10 miles on a Sunday morning, so it wasn't that irregular for her to be gone for at least several hours as she walked the length of these Greenway trails. Unfortunately, when we got the call, she had already been gone for upwards of 12 hours. And of course, her family was extremely concerned by this point. They called in the information, let us know where we might be able to find some clues. And so early the next morning, her vehicle was found in Comanche Park, which is several miles away, but between her residence and where she was ultimately found. The search was begun along the Salado Creek Greenway trails. We had a bunch of Bexar County deputies out there, San Antonio Park Police as well, and I believe SAPD Eagle was also helping us out in the area. A park police officer was able to find the remains that we were able to positively identify shortly thereafter as Ms. Dramiga. Her cause of death was identified as blunt penetrating trauma to the head. She was also sexually assaulted and burned, partially burned. We were able to collect some DNA from Ms. Dramiga's body on that day, but additionally from a rock that we believe was used as was most likely the murder weapon. We were able to find DNA on that rock as well. In the weeks that followed, we began a search trying to identify this person. We were able to determine that through that DNA sample that the DNA on the rock and the DNA taken from Ms. Dramiga's body was indeed the same male subject. But at that point, we still did not know who. That DNA was run through the CODIS system. And CODIS, as you all know, that system takes a while. It's a local database, a state database, and a federal database that is basically, as I imagine it, it's almost like a wheel that's constantly spinning, and it's running the known exemplar against these millions and millions of samples that are in the CODIS database. We were not able to, after exhausting that whole CODIS database, we were not able to find a hit. And so that told us that this person most likely had not had their DNA taken and was not in the system. We were following up on other leads, working with the Texas Rangers, trying to utilize that DNA that we knew we had. We knew we had the suspect's DNA, but we had nothing to compare it to in the official databases. The Texas Rangers were helping us with utilizing some other technologies to try to identify that person. But just a few days ago, October 13th, we got a call that broke this case wide open for us. We were notified that because of a DNA sample that was collected in April here at the Bexar County Jail as a part of a routine collection that we do from felony suspects as they're getting booked into the jail, in accordance with a new law that took place a couple of years ago, we now are given the ability to collect DNA samples from inmates being booked into the Bexar County Jail on felony charges. And in this instance, that's exactly what happened. Charon was booked into the Bexar County Jail. I believe it was April 9th. He was booked in on a charge of criminal mischief, and his DNA was collected. Over the course of the next several months, that system, or that sample made its way through the system to where it popped on our test in CODIS. and we were able to get him identified pretty easily. Yesterday, our detectives had to get we were tasked with getting another sample from him. And so what they did was they applied for a search warrant for another DNA sample. We made contact with him at his residence at 563 Como. He was taken into custody, and that warrant was executed. He was brought down here. He was talked to yesterday. That conversation didn't really yield much at all. That cold demeanor that you saw as he was walking out is exactly what we were confronted with yesterday. We released him last night, but we put surveillance on his home from that point up until this morning. This morning, we were fortunate enough that our partners at the medical examiner's office, they worked throughout the night, as my understanding, and they were able to get us confirmation this morning that the DNA sample that we took yesterday did indeed match the other DNA samples that we had in this case. And so that gave us enough to apply for additional arrest warrants earlier today for, again, those charges of capital murder and tampering with a corpse. Those warrants were executed without incident this afternoon at his residence at 563 Como. He was taken into custody and brought down here to BCSO headquarters. He was questioned, but invoked his right to remain silent. And again, that stone cold demeanor that you saw was exactly what we were met with today. Completely lack of any emotion, devoid of any emotion. Didn't give any reaction whatsoever, even when confronted with some pretty grisly crime scene pictures from the crime scene itself, but just completely devoid of any human emotion at all. And so now he's going to be booked into the Bexar County Jail. Now, incidentally, as I mentioned, the reason that his DNA was not in any of the CODIS databases prior to that felony charge in April is because he does not actually have a criminal history, a significant criminal history. I believe he's got some minor things over these years, but nothing that would ever stick, and nothing that would ever trigger this being brought in to be tested with DNA. And so, thankfully for us, this new law led to us doing this, and of course some good heads up police work from our investigators and all of our partners at the medical examiner's office, Park Police, the Texas Rangers, SAPD, everybody that has helped us out with this case. We're just extremely thankful to everybody for their help that led us to this point in the case. Esta tarde nosotros arrestamos este sospechoso, Samuel Aquim Charon. Este día lo arrestamos por el homicidio de Stacey Dramiga, una mujer que estaba haciendo ejercicio en un parque el 22 de septiembre del año pasado, del 2024. Ella se desapareció. Los familiares de ella hicieron un reporte con nosotros y la próxima mañana, el día 23, el cuerpo de ella fue encontrada en el parque. Nosotros lo que podemos ver es que alguien la golpeó con una piedra, así la mataron con una piedra, pero también la violaron sexualmente y también intentaron de quemar el cuerpo. Nosotros en ese momento sí colectamos DNA del cuerpo, pero no se sabía de quién era ese DNA. Nosotros empezamos a checar en todos los sistemas que nosotros tenemos, pero no tuvimos éxito, sino que trabajando con otros socios, en este caso el médico forénsico, los Rangers del estado, de la policía estatal, los Rangers, nosotros estuvimos trabajando por todo en el año por intentar de identificar el sospechoso. Hemos estado trabajando con otras tecnologías para ver cómo más podíamos encontrar o averiguar quién era el sospechoso. Hace unos cuantos días nos llamaron que este sospechoso fue arrestado en abril por una felonía. Ya metiéndose a la cárcel, nosotros en ese momento le tomamos nosotros tomamos DNA de él. Ya aparte de nuestros, como parte de nuestros procesos, sí le tomamos DNA en ese momento. Ese DNA lo entraron en el sistema y hace unos cuantos días nos dio que ese DNA mechaba con lo que nosotros ya teníamos. Entonces ya ayer nosotros logramos aplicar por una orden de cateo. Sí, lo arrestamos en ese momento, lo detuvimos para tomarle más DNA y ya lo tuvimos que soltar, pero sí lo pusimos bajo vigilancia por toda la noche. Ya este día el médico forénsico nos dio la información que sí mechaba el DNA, entonces ya este día nosotros aplicamos por órdenes por su arresto de este sospechoso, por el homicidio y también por maltratar el cuerpo. Ya este día sí lo arrestamos y lo que ustedes vieron ya afuera no tenía emoción el sospechoso, es lo que nosotros nos encontramos, así nos lo encontramos a él. Entonces ahora, obviamente para nosotros tuvimos éxito hasta este punto con este caso, pero también la investigación sigue. Entonces ya para nosotros se trata de poner la suficiente evidencia para llevar este caso a la corte. Any questions? At this point, we do believe that he acted alone. Obviously for us, anything is possible in a situation like this. Definitely a savage crime. One of the more heinous that I've ever been associated with. And but at this point, anything can happen. So we're asking anybody with information to call us, 210-335-6000. They can also send us an email tip at bcsotips@bear.org.
¿Acaso cree que había alguna relación entre la víctima y el sospechoso? ¿Se conocían?
No, para nosotros no pensamos que ellos se conocieran. Solamente que ella estaba haciendo ejercicio y por alguna razón él se fijó en eso, la pescó sola y la atacó.
Al principio decía que él era un monstruo. ¿Nos puede decir un poquito más sobre eso?
Sí, pues para mí, en mi opinión, es un monstruo. No tiene emoción. Vimos el ataque salvaje que él le hizo a esta mujer. Dañó el cuerpo, la violó sexualmente, intentó de quemar, la mató con una piedra, intentó de quemar el cuerpo y hasta eso, con enseñarle las fotografías, no nos dio ninguna información, no nos dio ni una emoción, nada. Para mí, en mi opinión, es un monstruo. You had a question, I'm sorry?
Did the suspect know the victim?
No, it's from what we can gather now, there was no connection whatsoever. Ms. Dramiga just happened to be out exercising on the Greenway Trail, and this was make no mistake about it, we believe this was a broad daylight attack. She just happened to be caught, isolated, and from the appearances, it appears it was most likely an ambush attack. He jumped her, caught her unawares, and then was able to overpower her and force her further back into the woods where she was ultimately sexually assaulted and beaten to death.
What was the criminal mischief in April?
We believe it was a gas station in the area there, close to not too far from the residence, that he committed a bunch of damage to it. It was a felony amount of damage. I don't know what prompted that. SAPD handled that case. And my understanding is that shortly after, it was actually a rejected case, so there's no criminal charge associated with that. But in the meantime, he was booked into the jail, that DNA sample was taken, but my understanding is that very soon thereafter, probably the next morning, that case was rejected, so it's no longer...
¿Y él no dijo por qué cometió el crimen?
¿Cuál crimen?
O sea, ¿por qué mató a la mujer?
No, él no nos dijo nada. Él quería mantener silencio, y como es su derecho, pero no nos dio nada de información.
The new law that you said really helped in this case, and that's how y'all were able to get the DNA. Do you foresee this potentially, can you kind of do that retroactively with felony charges, or?
I don't know that we can go back and do it, but certainly moving forward, since the inception of the law and then to now, I mean, this is clear evidence why a law like that needs to exist. For us, we plan to use this as a teachable moment for our deputies in the jail. Like here's why it's important to obtain these samples. Something on a criminal mischief charge ends up cracking a case wide open that would have been a true whodunit for some time had that not happened for us. So it was certainly a lot of police work, but also a little bit of luck that helped us crack this thing open.
Did your cameras that y'all positioned along that trail capture this suspect anytime
It didn't, from what we're able to gather, it did not. You know, from what we can gather, he didn't ever return to the scene after she was discovered.
Any chance that he has charges outside of the state of Texas?
There are no indicators now, and indicators are that he's been living here his, you know, the greater part of his life. You know, he went to high school here. He's a U.S. citizen. There's no indicators that he traveled outside Bexar County. Okay. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.